celebrating Cyrus's fatherhood. At noon, Robert high, like only he could. The fables are bizarre but good. It's Smith Thunderstood.
Ow, 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 ow.
Wow. Okay. Sarah Oliver just transformed into a werewolf before my eyes. Hey, thanks for joining us for the 100th episode
Nuh-uh.
of Myth Understood with me, Paul Bianchi, and her, Sarah Oliver.
Wait, where's my cake?
Where's your cake?
You're supposed to pop out of a cake.
So not only where's your cake, but why am I here and why am I not popping out of
Yes.
a cake? Okay. I guess I need to rethink everything in my life at this moment. Sarah, what's your favorite kind of cake?
Oh, dirt cake.
Dirt cake. Which is like the pudding and the Oreos and
Is it pudding?
Yeah. I think so, right?
Is there pudding in a dirt cake? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I think it's chocolate pudding with Oreo on top and then gummy worms
or like
are stuck in it.
creme. There's creme.
There's creme?
But I like it when you make it look like that's where dinosaurs died.
Oh, so you specifically like it
Fossil dirt cake.
if there were like sugar bones in it for you to like brush away with
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in general I don't like regular dry cake that much.
Yeah.
I'd rather do Rocky Road ice cream.
I was just talking about how like I either have like the simplest taste with cake
Funfetti
or the bougiest taste. Like there's no in between for me. Like I like like a funfetti angel food cake. Like that's I've always said sometimes like, oh, you can't go wrong with it, but I'm like, yeah, I think you could go wrong with it. I think
so many ways to go so wrong.
But I also really like if it's like made with like cinnamon spices and like has like if there's like a lavender jam or something like really like
okay,
yeah, like
so either it's $1 or it's $100.
Yeah,
no in between. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's really amazing cakes you could put in front of me and I'd be like, boy, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely prefer like a cheesecake.
Yeah,
like a clamia to the dryness.
Do you like a pie?
Yes, I do like pies. Like a chocolate pie.
So you like the pudding pies?
I guess am I a pudding bitch?
You I think you like pudding, yeah.
Am I a little pudding bitch? Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean,
do you like a key lime pie?
Sure. Is that a pudding?
It is.
Did
a
you
pudding
trap
pie.
me?
Yeah.
Was that pudding entrapment?
Do you like, what about a lemon meringue?
I feel like this is another trick.
Well, I don't feel like that one's a full pudding because there's not there's like a meringue on top, but there's not like a cream.
So some of them, they're called
base.
torts. A tort, when it's kind of like a pie, but also like a Pop-Tart. I like Pop-Tarts. Is that what you're asking?
That's not what I'm asking. Never once did I ask you.
I like strawberry Pop-Tarts. Thank you.
Okay.
And what about you? You're not a pie boy?
No, I like pie.
But you're not a pie boy.
I like all kinds of pie. I like a good fruit pie and I like a good meat pie.
Oh, right. A meat pie. Okay. Yes, a minced pie.
Yeah, well,
I like a pot pie.
Okay. Yeah, you do. You do.
You know I do. You know that there's been times where I say, I need a chicken pot pie right now. And
then we go to Mel's Diner and I'm like, that's not a chicken pot pie.
And I still eat it.
Yeah, you still eat it. Yeah, Mel's Diner in LA, their chicken pot pie, at least the last time I went to a Mel's Diner and saw you order a chicken pot pie.
Maybe a decade ago.
It was just a crust on top. And I'm
just
like,
a crust on top, yeah.
That's not a full pie.
It's not a full pie.
Anyway, so I have nothing to what a discussion for 100th episode. So cake and pie.
Cake and pie.
Sarah, when we first started this podcast 100 episodes ago.
God, we were just kids.
We were 14.
Yeah.
I have a lot of really lovely memories along the way.
I have a lot of resentment build up.
Do you have a favorite thing that we covered? Or does your memory not work in a way where you can pull out thoughts?
I mean, I do feel like I have dementia all the time, but I will say the stuff that stuck with me the best is the Norse because I did the research and it has been fun, like watching pop culture and having the stuff that either you've told me about, it being like a tingling in my head of like, I think I know about this, and then it coming slowly back.
Yeah.
And then like the Norse stuff where I'm just like, that's wrong. They got that wrong. But having fun with like just the longer you sit with a pie, the longer it cools.
That's
the
true.
easier it is to consume.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I think one thing that I very much enjoyed was that since my interest in mythology began with my relationship with my father, that having him come and be a guest
Oh, that's been
twice
magical.
and getting to share his quirky goofiness with the world
Yeah.
has been really lovely. You know, he was about to come out here again and visit, and he's always down to be a guest.
Your dad's always down to clown.
But he was not able to reconcile coming just out of fear of the spiking of the Delta variant
Sure.
and all that stuff. So but I hope to see him again in
I hope you see your dad again too.
I mean in the confines of this podcast. Otherwise I'll never see him again unless he comes on Myth Understood.
Yeah. You got to deal with his manager, which is your mom.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's been having your dad be on was so fucking cool. But it's also been fun when we did Greek to watch kind of like the meltdown of your childhood because you learned them in such lovely, palatable ways, and you go, "Oh God."
Yeah, I mean, I think just because I continued my interest into my adult life, that like a lot of it wasn't a surprise, but yeah, when it was a surprise, that was
It got you good.
It did get me good. Like, yeah, I think probably the standout of that is Dionysus writing the petrified wooden severed penis of his lover. Like that was something that I did not.
Wasn't in the coloring book.
It wasn't in the coloring book, no. But it should be.
It will be.
It should have its own full
Guys, check out our
two-page
book.
spread.
Yeah, check out our book coming out soon. Our coloring book. That'd be fun.
That would be really fun. Yeah.
All right.
A lot of
Crowdfund it.
a lot of very differing artwork, I think, between you and me. But I don't think anyone else would be able to tell the difference.
Fuck you. God, I hate you.
So today we're gonna do another Egyptian myth and
Our 100th myth.
our 100th myth.
That's hard to say.
I actually don't know if it's our 100th myth. I think that it's probably it's because we have had some episodes where we didn't have a myth.
But there's also been episodes where we've told several myths.
Yeah, like especially the Aesop fables. Like,
yeah,
I think we did like 8 in a row.
And yeah, there were definitely like Norse ones where I was like,
yeah.
Wham bam.
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is a solitary myth. This is a story about thievery, and
I love sneaking.
You do love sneaking. You have a sneaking of 100.
Yeah.
Like when you crouch, I can't see you anymore. And I prefer it that way.
I know.
So yes, this is a story that features Ramses III. And this is the very same Ramses who, if you remember during the Egyptian retelling of the Trojan War, or at least their side of the Trojan War, this was the same Ramses who, when he was like a young man, he wanted to marry Helen. And his mom was like, "No, she's cursed."
Yeah, get away from that.
Yeah. So after all of that happened to him, he in his reign defeated invasions from both Palestine and Libya, and after that quelling of the invasions, they lived at peace with each other, and he encouraged trade to such an extent that he became the richest in all of the history of the pharaohs.
Wow.
And Ramses,
so naturally the most bougie.
The most bougie. Yeah. He loved a spice cake with marzipan and lavender jam. None of that funfetti shit.
Yeah. $100 cake.
So Ramses gathered his treasures together in the form of gold and silver and precious stones. And the more he gathered, the more anxious he became, lest anyone steal his hoarding.
Oh no, is he going to smog himself?
All right. Well, I don't have to read the rest of it now. He turns into a dragon and fights a hobbit. So he sent for his master builder, Horemheb and said to him, that sounds like a Norse name, doesn't it? Horemheb.
No, that's Egyptian.
Okay. He said to him, build me a mighty treasure house of the hewn stone of Cyane. And of course, when I read that, I was like,
You want a bank?
what is the hewn stone of Cyane? So I looked it up. The hewn stone of Cyane is granite. So it's far less fancy than that. But the ancient town of Cyane had a lot of granite to mine. And I further read that Cyane is today the city of Aswan. And I looked at it in pictures and it looks gorgeous, just like tropical
Granite countertops everywhere.
Granite countertops. They're not into that. Like,
Open concept.
they don't like the driftwood coffee table thing. Like,
No.
They're all about granite. It's classic.
Modern contemporary.
Cyane was originally named after the ancient childbearing goddess called Swanet, and you know how there's like a counterpart to like Egyptian gods and Greek gods.
Yeah.
So she was related to the Minoan goddess Eilethia, and the Roman aspect Lucina. And you know how, like, because the Romans were very weird about their gods, where it was like, this is like an ideal as opposed to like an actual god that we worship.
I don't remember these hoes.
And well, yeah. So they're both very like, because Minoan goddesses were pre-Greek, so they were sort of fused into the Greek mythology. They were just like on the island of Crete. And then I didn't talk about Lucina because she's just like, Lucina was sort of related to Diana and Juno, because Juno was goddess of, she like encompassed motherhood, and Diana encompassed like the protection of virgins, but also protector of childbirth, because she had a full Planned Parenthood going on for and so Lucina was sort of the fusion between them, the two of them, that was like basically covered all motherhood.
Oh, motherhood. Okay.
But then, so this is, again, I'm just bringing you into the whole research spiral.
Granite equals motherhood.
It was through Lucina that I read about the Roman spirit, whose name is Vagitanus.
Vaginitis.
Vagitanus, which is a great name. And this was the Roman spirit who specifically presided over baby screams.
Oh man, we got to bring that back.
Because Vagitanus is like, it's baby screams, but it's like specifically
Do you calm him down?
It was like about like the development of young like baby language, like, and
he's the god of gibberish.
Kinda, yeah. But the name is related to the Latin noun vagitus, which means crying, squalling, and wailing. So it is like very specifically baby screams.
That's great.
And so
that's the next T-shirt. That god.
And so this sort of sent me down a like an internet hole where I was like trying to figure out is like what's the prefix here, because I know that vagina is sheath, like that's the Latin of it, and I was like, what's the relationship between vagina and baby screams? And I know there is a relationship here, but I was like trying to like figure out, and I don't really have a full answer here, but something that Reddit helped me with.
Oh boy.
And so who knows if this is true.
r/incels.
Is that basically the prefix in Latin vag, vag, is related to like the word for wandering. So it's like nomad, vagabond.
Yes.
But the
vagina,
the vag that's in sheath / vagina is actually comes from wag,
like, okay,
like wag. Yeah, and that's means like more like to split or to like cut open.
Oh boy.
And that
I really didn't like vaginas for a long time.
Well, what I was, and this is sort of where my mind went, is that because then the person on Reddit went forth to conclude that like vagina and that prefix is basically calling a vagina an axe wound, like
Oh,
and I was thinking about how like sure there's like some uh phobia there of womanhood that has existed throughout history, but also like to cut or to split and to see blood is, if you're men who are developing a language, that's how like alien it is to you, is like, oh, that's a wound, it bleeds.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of this because of granite.
Why? My God.
so-
What? That is a beautiful rabbit hole.
Thank you.
A beautiful rabbit wound.
Beautiful. Yeah, so a long way from granite. Anyway, back to Ramses and Horemheb. He said, yeah, build.
And so he, of course, told him this whole story.
He
And he's
did.
like, do you want me to build you a bank or not?
He's like, I just really like etymology. I'm sorry. So he said, make the floor of solid rock and the walls so thick that no man may pick a hole in them, and rear high the roof with stone into a tall pyramid so that no entrance may be broken through on either side. So just make this the most impenetrable safe. And then Horemheb.
Back then, HGTV meant hieroglyphic television.
Yeah.
So this is an HGTV show.
Well done. The Horemheb kissed the ground beneath Ramses III and said, "O Pharaoh, life, health, strength be to you."
Mm-hmm.
They love saying it. "I will build such a treasure house for you as the world has never seen, nor will any man be able to force a way into it. But them women, they'll find a way."
Oh, yeah.
So Horemheb set all the stonemasons in land of Egypt to work day and night, quarrying and hewing the stone from the hard rock on the edge of the desert above Syene, where the Nile falls from its most northerly side into the Isle of Elephantine. And where the stone was hewn, he caused it to be drawn on sledges down the Nile and loaded on boats and bore it down to western Thebes. So just like a gigantic undertaking.
And then he's like, oh, no, we got termites.
Termites in the granite termites. It was where the temple of Ramses was already rising, which stands now to this day, and it's called Madanet Habu.
This is the bank he makes?
No, this is the
A different thing.
it's beside the temple of Ramses,
Okay.
which also became his mortuary, like where he was put in the ground, or put in a
Put in a
tomb.
vase.
Yeah, put in a vase, put in several vases and a tomb. Yeah. I looked up that place too. It's very pretty. It's near Luxor. The columns have several colossal statues of Ramses in a row.
Wow.
It's a very.
See, this is what happens when you have a peaceful nation. You have time to just make pretty statues of yourself.
Yeah, just like
Think about it, America.
a lot of people to force into labor and not pay them.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, under the care of the master builder, the walls of the new building were reared and a pyramid was built over the whole thing, and left a great chamber in the middle. And in the entrance, he set a pair of sliding doors of stone, others of iron and bronze, and the doors were locked, and each was sealed with the pharaoh's great seal, that none may copy on pain of death.
What?
In the duat, if they ever like tried to copy it. So no one else can recreate this image of the seal.
Like you can't draw it on a piece of scroll?
Hell no.
Oh, wow.
They'll kill you. And
What
not
about
only
fan art?
no fan art, no slash art either. Yet Horemheb, the master builder, played the pharaoh false. In the thick wall of the treasure house, he made a narrow passage with a stone at either end, turning on a pivot that, when closed, looked and felt like any other part of the smooth, strong wall,
I love secret passageways.
except for those who knew to feel for the hidden spring that held it perfectly in place.
What a sneak.
And that was something else I looked up too, because when I think of a spring, I think of like tightly coiled metal.
Yeah.
And I was like, that feels really advanced for like ancient Egypt. And then that's when like the internet was like, a spring is basically
wood.
anything that applies that stores force. Like a bow and arrow is like a form of a spring.
Sure.
So like it's just a little like meh in there.
So you put it in there.
You can put a little meh in there.
From the home depot.
By means of this secret entrance, Horemheb was able to add to the reward which the pharaoh gave to him when the treasure house was complete. Yet he did not add very much because he soon fell a great sickness upon him, and he died.
The treasure was covered in poison.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
But on his deathbed, he brought his two sons to his side. And his two sons don't have names in this story, so what do you want to name them?
Ryan
Ryan.
and Brian.
Ryan and Brian. So Ryan and Brian came to his father on his deathbed. One of them was far wiser than the other. Who was the wiser one?
Ryan.
Ryan was the wiser one, and Brian was sort of the dummy. And they came to his side and said, "Father, I'm so sad that you're dying. I am Ryan. I just sound like this though."
Hey, Dad, you want to watch some TV? HGTV?
No, son, I'm dying.
Okay, maybe later.
Maybe later. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. I have the secret entrance to the Pharaoh's treasure house, and I'm only gonna tell the two of you about it. Is that cool?
Oh man, I'm gonna slay so many axe wounds when I get treasure.
Brian, don't talk like that. You're gross. I'm wise. So when they buried, like they had a bunch of wealth because his dad had been secretly siphoning off this treasure fund.
Right.
So they were able to bury his body with all honor in a rock chamber among the tombs of nobles in western Thebes. And the two young men used their knowledge, snuck into the treasure chamber, and began to accrue wealth for themselves.
You get on my shoulders and let's wear a trench coat so no one sees us.
Brian, you're so silly. We don't have to do that. We just have to like sneak in the night.
Wear this mustache.
Okay, we'll wear the mustache because that's just like fun. It's like, why is it blonde? It doesn't match my hair.
Wear this merkin.
Oh, okay. So Ramses was at a loss because he started to notice that his treasure was growing less and less.
How much were they taking?
A lot.
Oh, doggy.
And he didn't understand how the thieves got in. For the royal seals were never broken, but very certainly the thieves were coming and taking his shit.
So what was this seal though?
The seal was like on the door that like
So it was like a piece of wax?
Yeah, it was like something that could be broken,
so you'd see that
and
someone
you'd have to reseal it. Yeah.
Okay.
And he really noticed this too because the pharaoh was starting to like get up there in his old age and had become a real miser. Like he paid frequent visits to his treasure house and like knew every object of value in it. He like named the jewels each, like, oh, that's Sammy, and that's Karen. And then the treasure continued to go, and he was like, "Oh, not Sammy. Sammy's gone now." So the pharaoh decided that the only way to combat this was to place cunning traps and meshes that should be set near the chests and the vessels from which the treasure was disappearing.
Yes, Home Alone them.
And this was done really secretly. And so like they had no idea that it was done. And so the next time they went to the pyramid, they opened up the door in the side. They squeezed their way along the narrow passageway, shimmying all the way. They removed the spring in the door. They opened the other door, and the first to step across the floor towards the chest.
Brian, who did a belly flop into the gold.
Brian stepped 1 foot onto one of the traps and immediately was like ensnared, like tight wire just like cutting into his foot, like pulling away at like the muscle, and he was like just like bleeding.
Oh God, they made
on the
like a
ground.
Saw movie.
Oh yeah, they
Ugh.
really did that. And the Pharaoh came on and he's like, "Do you know what's going to happen next?" I you can clearly see that I've seen a lot of Saw because I'm like, I don't know what Jigsaw says.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just like,
time to play a little game.
yeah, there you go.
So Brian calls out, "Brother, I am caught in a snare, and all of your cunning cannot get me out of it. I've already decided on your behalf.
I'm the wise one.
Probably I shall be dead by the time the Pharaoh sends his guards to find if he caught the treasure thief. If not,
Why would you die from an ankle wound?
because he's like bleeding out from like it like cut through his like Achilles tendon. But
Ew.
this was before Achilles though, so it's just his tendon. And I cut through my footy thing. Yeah, I probably shall be dead by the time the Pharaoh sends his guards to find me, and if not, he'll certainly have me tortured cruelly until I tell everything, because I can't keep my mouth shut. You know me, I'm Brian, and then he'll put me to death. And whether or not I live or die, he or one of the royal guards will recognize me, and then he'll catch you, and you too will perish miserably, and maybe our mother also. Like, that would just be the worst. So therefore, I beg you, Ryan, as I bleed out before you,
Yeah.
as you hope to pass the judgment of Osiris,
Yeah.
whither I am bound,
Yeah, here you go. Wrap it up.
that you draw your sword
Uh-huh.
and strike off my head
Oh.
and carry it away from you like a little purse,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I shall die quickly and easily. Moreover, no one will recognize my body.
Bro, you had me at decapitation. Let's go.
So at least you'll be safe from the Pharaoh's vengeance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bend over.
So why am I bending over?
Bend over.
uh
I'm going to do it my way. I'm the wise one.
So Ryan resisted. He did not want to cut off Brian's head.
Oh.
And he said, "No, brother, I'm going to try to break through the trap." But he couldn't. It was built too well. For all of Ryan's cunning, he could not cut through the wire. So he didn't have his wire cutters.
Yeah,
with him.
right.
But at last, realizing that it was in vain and agreeing that it is better for just one of them to die than both, he's like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And knowing that if his brother were recognized, that his whole family, including his mother, might suffer, he drew his sword and did as his brother begged him to do. Then he picked up Brian's head by the hair,
Gave it a little smooch.
closed the door carefully behind him, squeezed back through the passage, and then closed the other secret door, and then buried his brother's head beside his family home in an unmarked grave, but like gave him all the reverence and passage that he could.
They're not blood smeared everywhere.
There's likely blood spilled everywhere, which is why this next part makes no sense to me. When the next day dawned, the Pharaoh came to his treasure chamber and was astonished to find the body of a man, naked and headless.
Why is he naked now? What? Ryan went nuts.
Ryan took his clothes too, so that he couldn't be recognized by his clothes, I guess. I remember because when I read this, that also took me by surprise. I'm like, why is he naked?
Ryan, that's too much.
Naked, headless, with his dick cut off and shoved into his neck wound. Like he
Nay, but a fake mustache.
You got to think that the Pharaoh, like when he sees this like naked man headless in one of those traps, is like, holy shit, like I commissioned these trap makers to make it exploded his head. Like, it tore his clothes from his body.
Worth. Finally, yeah.
But there was he was surprised though, because there was still no sign of a secret entrance, which is like, that's the part where I'm like, there would be a blood trail like that, like ends at the wall.
Well, maybe Ryan's a little freak and he licked it all up or something.
Probably.
Or maybe that's why he took the clothes. He like cleaned behind him.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
All right.
We're
But
solved.
then he licked those.
It's
I mean, you have to like pump yourself up into some bloodlust to decapitate your brother.
yeah.
I should know.
Oh yeah, I forgot you did that.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So it does say though the treasure thief had been careful to remove all the tracks, which I think is going to be very hard against like unpolished granite. Like that blood is in the cracks, but whatever. We're gonna suspend our belief there. And he was also quite certain that all the seals on the doors had not been broken, and he was determined to catch this treasure thief even more.
My first thought would be that someone is forging my seal.
Mm,
That's all I would think it was.
no, it's not happening.
All right.
So he gave the orders that the headless body should be hung on the outer wall of his palace, and a guard of soldiers should be stationed nearby to catch anyone who might try to take it away for a burial.
Having some dark fucking, what are they called? Sunset years, huh?
Yeah.
Yikes.
And yeah, or if anyone came by even to just like weep and lament the body roasting in the sun disgustingly.
Or even like wince, like
Mhm.
that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ryan goes back home without his brother and his mother, who also doesn't have a name. What's her name?
Oh, Tiffany.
Tiffany. Old mother Tiffany. She heard she asked right away, "Hey, Ryan, where's your brother?"
This is not his blood on me. This is not his blood on me.
Oh God, what happened?
I didn't do that to his neck and head, and I didn't saw it off. Are you out of your mom?
Yeah, so
You need a bath.
it is like you've read this because he does tell Tiffany what happened in explicit detail, more detail than she wanted. She's just like, I just wanted to hear if he's dead.
Oh God.
And now she knows that the body of her son is hanging on the palace wall, and she could not be, and that his body could not be given the sacred rites of burial.
It's not
And
Mom. His head's in the garden.
she says, the body of your brother remains unburied. His spirit cannot find peace in the Duat, nor come before Osiris, where he sits in judgment. Instead, he will wander forever as a ghost, lost upon this earth. Therefore, you must bring me his body, or else I will go straight to the Pharaoh and beg for it by my love, which he bore to your father Horemheb, his master builder. If he learns that you are the treasure thief, I cannot help it. But I will at least bury you with your father and your brother
Mom!
in the great tomb of Horemheb.
Mom, why are you saying I gotta die? I buried his head.
She needs to bury Brian.
I already did the best part.
Well, remember, the Egyptians don't think that the brain has any use. So, like, we need his heart in his body. You should have cut out his heart. His heart brain. So, at first, her son tried to persuade her that the burial of the head was enough.
Yeah.
For this, he had set secretly where Horemheb lay. And then he pointed out to her that it was surely better for only one of her sons to lie unburied than for both of them to die.
Don't you want grandkids? Don't you want grandkids? I've been flirting with that one girl in town.
But she would not listen to him, and he was forced to promise to do his best to recover his brother's body. Otherwise, I'm going straight to Pharaoh.
Fine.
Tiffany has said her piece. So,
I'll be in my room.
what would you do if you were Ryan? Because I don't think it's what he did.
Oh, what would I do?
Yeah.
I'd wait until nightfall.
Okay.
I'd crossbow the rope
Okay.
so that the body falls, but from afar.
Okay.
And then I'd look around, see if anyone's there.
Uh-huh.
Then I'd net it. A net gun.
Uh-huh.
And I'd
So you traveled from the future.
and then I'd put it on the back of my chariot and drive away with the body.
Okay, great. So you would not disguise yourself as an old merchant?
Well, obviously that's how I'm dressed.
Okay. And load 2 donkeys with skins of wine?
Skins of wine.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean?
Skins. Like a sewn together hide to like keep liquid inside of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he loaded 2 donkeys with skins of wine, disguised himself as an old merchant, with his mustache that his brother gave him, and set out along
Covered in his blood,
and set out along the road which ran by the palace wall. As he passed the place where the soldiers were encamped, he made the donkeys jostle against each other, but he had secretly made holes in the wineskins, which had bumped together as if some sharp pieces of metal in their harnesses had like cut through the wine.
Huh?
And so then the good wine ran out into the ground, and he, disguised as the merchant, began to weep and lament loudly so that he would draw the attention of the guards, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to weep and lament loudly at the sight of the body.
Oh.
So, and when they arrived, he pretended to be upset. He was like, "Oh no, my wine is leaking everywhere. Now I won't be able to make money, and all this wine is it's just going to go to waste unless someone put their little mouths against the holes and just like sucked up all this delicious wine. Oh no." And as soon as the soldiers saw what was happening, they came running to help the merchant and realized also to help themselves.
Yeah, beer hat.
Yeah, so they all put their lips against the holes of the wine, and they're just like drinking this wine away. And meanwhile, Ryan is like, "Oh, you guys are such saints, not letting this wine go to waste. Oh, you're the best guys. Oh, I can't believe you can handle all this wine. Oh, you're studly men." And so they proceeded to do this to the 2 damaged until the 2 damaged skins were empty, and the wine was already on the way to their heads. But like I said, like he was, talking them up this whole time that they were helping. He was calling them his gallant rescuers. He was so grateful to them for saving his wine from being wasted on the desert sand.
But they're not going to pay him.
No, he's just happy. Like, thank goodness you drank it all. And he was so grateful to them that he made them a present of another skin of wine and sat down to share it with them. And they didn't refuse. They were like, "Oh, this guy's great. Like, he just keeps giving us all his wine." And before long, they were snoring on the ground with their mouths open, because you can only imagine hot desert heat.
Yeah.
Drink
a lot of wine.
A lot of wine. And they were laying on the ground snoring with their mouths open. That's the detail of the story, with their mouths open.
Does it say that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's cute.
Darkness was falling by this time, and the false merchant had no difficulty in taking down the body of his brother from the wall, wrapping it in the empty wineskins, and carrying it away on one of his donkeys. Then, for some reason, he cuts a lock of hair from the side of the head of each soldier's head. And that's all that is said about this. He's just like, "Little piece from my victims," and then he goes triumphantly home to his mother, just with his brother and
he presents the dead body horrifically,
and he says,
without warning,
"Mom, came back. Here's Brian's body, all decapitated.
No,
look at it.
Oh God!
Also, I have these 3 locks of hair from 3 soldiers
Why?
that I made drunk with wine.
What's that for?
That's for me.
Ryan.
I'm allowed to have things for myself, Mom." So they were able to complete the funeral in the morning, just like, put it right next to where he buried the head.
Bury him under the cucumbers.
Mm-hmm. And when it was light, the pharaoh wakes up, draws open his windows, and is like, "No," because he looks out the window and
my wind chime
discovers that the rotting corpse is now gone. And his rage was great, and he caused all of the guards who had fallen asleep to the wine to be beaten with rods. But we don't know what these rods look like, but they're just beaten with rods as punishment for their drunkenness. But that's all the punishment they get. Not a full-on murder. Just wounded and limping for the rest of their lives.
And
probably.
They all notice a weird bald spot on different parts of their head.
What's this shit about? So the pharaoh cries out, "Whatever the cost, I must have the treasure thief." And so he comes up with a new plan to try to catch the treasure thief. He runs into his daughter's room, and that's multiple daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
Bunk beds.
yeah,
everywhere.
he's like, daughters who I definitely know all the names of.
1, 2, and 3.
Which one of you wants to be daddy's favorite? Which...
Me.
Okay, the last one with the lowest voice.
Me, daddy.
What's her name again?
Oh, you thought you named me 5.
Oh, 5. 5. 1, 2, 3, and 5. That was probably accurate.
Yeah.
He says, 5, I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to dress up in this outfit that I bought for you.
Oh, wow.
It's to make you look like a great lady for once in your life
Oh.
from a foreign land, and I want you to set up camp outside the city gates and offer yourself in marriage to the man who will tell her the cleverest and wickedest deed he has done in his entire life.
Oh, how long do I have to be out there, Daddy?
Until we catch the treasure thief.
Okay. I literally have nothing else to do.
Nope. So,
Will you let me learn how to read?
No.
Oh.
No. This is your one task that will prove your
Okay.
love to me. So 5 sets up her encampment outside of the village, and it's just very painfully obvious to like everyone that like, oh,
Yoo-hoo! What crappy stuff you've done. Come confess to me.
yeah, like everyone knows pretty much what the pharaoh's daughters look like. The no amount of
Ever seen an axe wound up close?
oh boy, So of course this was very obvious to Ryan as well. He knew who this strange maiden was. You know, she had like drawn on a unibrow. She's like looking like Frida Kahlo, and he's and also the questioning itself is very weird. Like, why is you want me to tell you the craziest and wickedest thing that I've done? That seems very specific. So he was determined to outdo the pharaoh in cunning, though. He's gotten a taste of like outsmarting the pharaoh, and he's like needs to have even more. So he went to visit this princess just as the sun was setting, and he carried with him under his cloak what, Sarah?
His penis. It was a erect penis.
No. Something far more disturbing.
Oh, no. His brother's head.
No. Not it's like a missing part of the story is that recently a man was executed for treason by the command of the pharaoh. And Ryan went to the grave of this man, dug him up, and chopped off his arm. And so he's got the arm of this executed man under his cloak. Yep. Just
Yoo-hoo.
just waving it around. And he shows up to the princess's tent and he says, fair princess, I would win you to be my wife.
Oh.
And she says, ooh, then tell me the cleverest and wickedest things you've ever done. It gets me off. And I will say yes to your offer of marriage if they are wickeder and cleverer than anything I've ever heard. My name's 5. And as the sun went down behind the hills that hid the Valley of Kings, the treasure thief told the tale to the princess. He said, and so, the wickedest thing I ever did was cut off my own brother's head when he was caught in the pharaoh's trap yonder in the secret entrance to the treasure house. And the cleverest was to steal his body from under the noses of the very soldiers who were set to guard it.
Excuse me while I ring this loud bell.
Pretty much, yeah. The princess cried out to the royal attendants who were hidden nearby as she seized the thief, saying, come quickly, for this is the man the pharaoh is seeking. Come quickly, for I am holding him by the arm. But when the pharaoh's attendants crowded her with lighted torches and lamps, the treasure thief had already slipped away into the darkness, leaving the dead man's arm in the horrified princess's hands. And she vomited and then ran to the pharaoh being like, I have been tricked, still holding the dead arm.
I've never held a hand. It's really nice.
And when Pharaoh Ramses heard the further example of daring and craftiness, he exclaimed, "What, Sarah?"
What a joy.
Pretty much, yeah. He says, "This man is too clever to punish."
His daughter is laying there traumatized forever. Please don't ever make me marry. I no longer trust men.
Go back to your sister's suite. The land of Kem prides itself on excelling the rest of the world in wisdom. But this man has more wisdom than anyone else in the land of Kem.
He put a dead arm in my hand. Where are you getting this from, Father?
Wipe the vomit from your face and return to your room.
It won't stop coming out.
Go proclaim through the city of Thebes that I will pardon him for all he has done and reward him richly henceforth, and he will serve me truly and faithfully. Oh, actually, 5, come back here.
What?
That man who did this terrible thing to you,
Yes.
he's going to be your husband.
What?
And so, in the end of The Treasure Thief, he married 5 and became the royal servant of Pharaoh Ramses III. Nor did he ever have to need to enter the royal treasure chamber by the secret entrance made into it by Horemheb, the master builder, because he was rewarded with as much gold as a servant of the pharaoh would be rewarded.
As much gold as he and his 3 arms could carry.
Uh-huh. So that's the story of the treasure thief. And really, honestly, when I was reading this one, I was like, what twists and turns? Like,
Yeah.
I was really engaged with this one.
Yeah. I'm engaged to it.
You are.
We are to be wed.
We are to be met and wed. You and the severed arm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, how'd you feel?
Yeah. Twists, turns, oohs and ahs.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, is that Ryan a clever, sexy man.
He sure is. I feel like this would make a great Disney movie.
How would Disney change it?
More bloodshed.
Less female agency.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, the songs would be tremendous. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tiffany's Lament.
Tiffany's Lament. Uh-huh. Coming this fall out of the Disney vault.
I love the treasure thief. He stole my daddy's gold and then he stole my heart.
Experience the adventure of a lifetime. The treasure thief, telling the tale of 2 brothers desperately clinging to the promise of gold.
Hey, Ryan, you want some gold?
Yeah, I do want some gold. Watch out for that trap. Experience the gore as only joyfully Disney can deliver.
Brother, you must rip my skull from my body.
Brother, I can't rip your skull from your body, but I have a sword.
Cut me, saw me in half.
With Angela Lansbury as their mother, Tiffany.
Mother, I'm so sorry. I had to kill Brian.
It's a spot. You are covered in his blood.
Mother, I buried his head under the cucumbers.
That's that movie.
Wait, who plays Ramses?
Oh, and Josh Gad as Ramses.
That's true.
That is true.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
He will be. He
Well-
always has been.
Sarah, as usual, it's really just a delight to share these very crazy tales with you. And this being our 100th episode, I would like to honor you with this plaque.
Oh my God. It's an engraving of an axe wound. My axe wound.
I got my wizards
How
together.
did you get this?
We ferried you across the desert in the span of 5 hours. You were beaten with a rod, so you don't remember. And then we
Took a mold of my vagina.
took a mold of your vagina and had it recreated in granite.
Paul. And all I got you was this.
Oh my gosh. This is just
The
like,
dildo that Dionysus rode to death.
but it's made out of spinal bones. Whose spinal bones are these?
Taste it and you'll know.
Terry Hatcher. I don't know why that was the first person that came to mind.
Oh, guys, we love you. Thank you for hanging out with us for 100 times. We'll hang out with you for at least a couple more.
Yeah. Yeah, please check out www.mythunderstoodpodcast.com to check out our merch, to learn how you can become a Patreon patron, or to find the link to join our Discord community, because those are all lovely places to frolic within.
Frolic within our merch.
Yeah, frolic within it. Please follow our show on social media. You can find us at _mythunderstood. You can find us individually at the Paul Bianchi and the Sarah Oliver. And always just rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Like,
Only if it's good.
Even if you've already done it, just
leave
like
your stupid comments in your pocket.
just do it again. Leave your stupid comments in your pocket. That's
from the room.
It is from the room.
That's Mark.
That's true.
Oh, bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Hey, Jake Lloyd Bacon here to convince you to check out my podcast, Elaborate. Listen, it's not super high concept. It's a talk show, one in which I sit down with artists, actors, comedians, writers, and more from all walks of life, and I simply try to connect. I'm exploring the human condition. I'm trying to figure out why we are, who we are, and how the hell we got here. Transparency is key. Growth is the goal. It's a conversation. It's an interview. It's not therapy, but it is therapeutic. So join me and my guests on Elaborate, available at elaboratepod.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's Dragon Wagon.